Episode 71 of Brentocast. Here we go. And we're back for episode 71 of Butty's Cast. No, it's Brento's Cast, right? Or Brentocast, if you will. It's been about a month since our last podcast, and I just noticed that my annual dues are coming up for Spreaker.com, where I host this informative podcast about everything that is happening in the world of Johnny Brento, your boy Brent Bowers, aka myself. To me, anyway, right? Things are going great and only getting better. It is dog days of summer, y'all. We've had a really hot week here in Albemarle, North Carolina. And as some of you might have picked up on from previous podcasts, I've been on a bit of a fitness kick since November 28th of last year. I've lost somewhere in the vicinity of 90 pounds. And now I'm training, not working out. I'm training. That's the right way to put it. About 5 days a week, 4 or 5 sessions a week at least, whether it's over 4 or 5 days. It's not always based on what my schedule is with massage therapy. Massage therapy is weird in the summertime. A lot of people no show, tend to have a couple of days being like first of the week and the end of the week where everybody wants to come on that day and get their massage. So it makes it a little bit interesting trying to accommodate everybody, but I do have some standing appointments on Fridays, so Fridays always seem to be that crazy day, and so I'm always in a rush to get my workouts, some of which with my trainer, in prior to that. So if I have to not work out on Friday and Saturday, I've at least got the bare minimum work in. Obviously, I'm pushing to get myself physically fit, and I'm making great progress on that. In fact, I think I have done intermittent fasting for, give me one moment here and I'll check my Facebook, because I'm all about accountability on this, not for anybody else, but just to help me. Okay, so that means today is 236 consecutive days that I've done intermittent fasting. And my body has become really, really accustomed to it. I do not get hungry very often. And, typically like on an 18-hour fast, I'll feel a little bit of a stirring, not really hunger, but I'll feel that I've kind of reached that empty level, particularly if I'm doing a workout around that time. You can definitely feel your body sort of shift from consuming the calories that you've put in your body recently to switching over to consuming fat, aka ketogenesis. You sort of feel that if you're in the midst of a hard workout. And now we're all about lifting harder than you can comfortably lift to build strength, and endurance. And lots and lots of performance carries, people. That's where it's at, and we do a lot of that. And it does make you stronger. It kind of sucks in the moment, but it does make you stronger. And stronger is better. More flexible is better. That's something that I add as a massage therapist. More flexible is better. Flexibility equals strength in lots of cases. But anyway, so my trainer sent me this thing last week, actually a couple of days ago, and it basically was talking about your body becoming efficient at whatever it is that you do. Let's say that you run on the elliptical. Your body gets really efficient at running on the elliptical. You don't burn calories like you do when you first start. And in the same way, if you are accustomed to fasting 24 hours or 36 hours or 48 hours, your body will kind of become efficient at holding on to calories to get you through that. And so the fear is that you lose less weight because your body has kind of learned what to expect from you. Well, I'm not getting those constant calories. I'm not getting that sugar to burn. I'm not getting those carbs to burn. So I have to hold on to what I have, and that can, stagnate you. Now, in my case, I don't worry about what I've lost on the weight on the week. I know that the output that I'm doing could not be sustained if calories weren't coming from somewhere. I know what I put in my body. I know how much I'm burning roughly. So I know that over time, the effect is going to be what I want it to be. And so far, every time that I've checked the scale, that's been the case. Now, when I've tried to weigh on the daily, sometimes it'll look like you've gained a pound, or, you didn't lose as much as you should have based on how much you worked. And I'm doing things like 2 workouts a day lots of times. I've started doing the boot camp on Tuesday nights at the gym where I go, and that's pretty intense. And that'll be my second workout on Tuesdays. And I'm trying to do that every Tuesday. So every Tuesday is a double hard workout. And then lots of the other days I'll do a hard workout and then sort of an easier workout where I walk. And this is proven to give me the effect that I want as far as my clothes getting looser. So I know I'm moving in the right direction, but I really don't like to weigh more than once a month. And I don't even do that sometimes. I'll know when I get to the place where I'm no longer technically obese. Like, I'll know that because I'm already in that direction. The shelf that used to be my stomach, I would put drinks on top of it. I'm sitting in the car or watching TV, and it'd be like, bam, the drink goes right there. Now the drink doesn't fit anymore; it just slides right off. So clearly something has changed. But anyway, this week we're doing something different. And as far as fasting, I'm still going to fast because I'm never planning to break. I'm planning to, 5 years from now, it'll just be that many days that I've done consistent intermittent fasting. But instead of doing long fasts, well, I'm going to try to do like just whatever overnight, whenever I stop eating at night to when I start eating during the day. This is just for 7 days, by the way. I'm still going to notate that I'm going to call it a fast because technically it is a fast. So that'll be fasting day, whatever. And I've only fasted, like, for example, last night I fasted 13 hours before I ate anything. And then I had breakfast, which I almost never do. And I'm going to eat again today, which is crazy, right? But the idea is to sort of get the body back in the habit of getting a little regular food. Now, with that, I'm going to try to eat cleaner than I would. One amazing thing about this program is that when I'm fasted, I eat whatever it is that crosses my mind, whatever I want. Now, I will say cravings change a lot as you're working out. Your body craves better food. You don't want the nasty food so much, meaning like ice cream and cake and sweets. Or in my case, I don't have much of a sweet tooth, but I will like cake here and there, and or craving like Mexican food where there's chips and salsa and things like that. I always say, what's not to love about Mexican food, right? Like, it's a carby food with a side of carbs. And by the way, on that note, I went to see my friends Joy and George perform at Stony Mountain Vineyard the other night at something called, I want to say, Angelopolis Mexican food truck was there, and I had what potentially is the greatest steak burrito I've ever had in my life. Oh, it was so nice. Had a verde sauce, had fresh limes, radishes, and cucumbers sliced. It was epic. It was epic. And of course, that was my first day on this thing, so I'm going to try to eat cleaner than that. During the week, we have a Chick-fil-A here, so I can have a grilled chicken apple salad, which is a bit cleaner, than something like a steak burrito, right? It's got rice in it. I could also get like grilled chicken very easily at Chick-fil-A, and I'm planning on leaning on that this week. So the idea is when I get actually hungry. Now, if it's just a hunger pain, I'm not going to do it. But if I'm actually hungry, whenever that is, I'm going to go and eat something, and it's going to be small. So I'll be eating a couple times a day until I get to that place tonight where I stop eating, and that will technically begin my fast, even though this whole week is about eating when I'm hungry, to get the body back into thinking, oh, I'm going to get regular calories now, so I can stop hanging on to calories. And then the thought is, after 7 days, I'm going to go back to strict fasting, no less than 18 hours, maybe even longer than that. And I'm going to try to do as many days of that together, the longer fast as I can, to see if that spurs kind of a new breakthrough of the plateau. Again, from my perspective, if I only look at it once every couple of months, I've always lost more than 5 pounds a week on the whole, collectively, So if I'm losing 3 to 5 pounds a week, I don't see a ton of reason to change, but I do think that over time your body gets used to things. And so the logic of this made sense to me. And of course, it's fun. I get to eat a little bit different for a change, and that'll be nice for the mental health aspect of it. But fasting ain't hard, y'all. It makes you feel good. It ain't hard. I'm going in the right direction, and I know that I'll get there sooner rather than later. It may not be this year, although my goal was to lose 100 pounds in a year and get close to not being obese. And by the way, I'm going to check that on New Year's Day, and this is going to become a thing. Actually, I started this on November 28th of last year, but I'm going to do the check-in on New Year's, which gives me like, a year and a month. And then I'll share with you guys what that became. And if it's 2 years, if it's 2 years, if it's 5 years, before I go into my 60s, I'm 55 now, November the 5th, I'll be 56. Before I go into my 60s, I will not be obese on paper, and you can believe that. That is Brent Bauer's guarantee. I need to be, for my height, I need to be 237 pounds or less. My goal is 230 pounds. And when I get that 230 pounds, you best believe that I'm going to stay on top of weighing myself, man. because I don't ever want to find out that I'm 50 pounds overweight or what have you. You know, in my case, I was like 140 pounds overweight. And man, to get that, I kept losing that same 30 pounds that at the top of that. I kept losing it and gaining it back, losing it and gaining it back. And that ain't cool. I always say that my motivation for being consistent and having the right mindset is fear. I fear that I'm down here at the gym at 9 o'clock in the morning, lifting these heavy ass weights, walking outside, carrying this fireman's carry 200 yards in the freaking 100-degree weather, when I could be sitting at breakfast nook or Starbucks having a good old time. But instead, I'm here suffering, and then I don't get the result. That ain't happening. That ain't happening to me. I'm going to make sure that if I'm here, I'm doing the work as needed and as directed. And that's why it's easy for me and fantastic to me to work with a trainer. And by the way, not for nothing, but like if you're serious, you need to go see Todd Gorman at H4 Fitness, because he's the sixth trainer that I've worked with. Him and one other guy really were able to move the needle, but he, more than anybody else, has been invested in my success. And I always say, like, I got a couple people in my corner, like Nancy and Todd, but most of all, I got divine providence from God. I'm going to succeed. That's it. All right. I just want to talk about 1 second here about positive visualization for the outcome that you hope for and you wish for. And the difference in just thinking, man, it'd be great if I could be rich, I could have a great career, and I could be super fit and beautiful and live forever. That'd be great, right? But how much are you willing to work toward that, and how much of your expectations are you going to get in line with your commitment? I would say about 3 years ago, I was kind of redesigning BrentBowers.com, and a little bit of a note on BrentBowers.com. I was the first, quote unquote, and I hate this term, webmaster that First Union hired. I hired their first, I had input on hiring their first art director. I think I was probably the first senior web designer, although that title changed later and that meant something totally different, but they were just looking to call somebody senior web designer. And at a point when I was going to leave for another job, they gave me a big raise and a title bump, so that's how technically I became senior web designer. But that later on meant people that were kind of like pushing the edge of CSS, and that was never really me. It was just a title I held for a second. But anyway, I had a website around for almost 30 years, BrentBowers.com. There's a literal crap ton of content, most of which you guys can't see because I kept it for posterity. I'm ashamed of some of the articles that I wrote because I didn't take the time to make them grammatically correct, or some of them weren't well thought out. I was just trying to have a web presence back in the day. I had very little time to put on it. And now I write completely differently, obviously. And apart from being a prolific songwriter, I actually like to write articles and just express my thoughts on things. And so a lot of that is on a website, but it's not all for public consumption. I went through the trouble. I was actually with SiteGround web host for 18 years. And this whole Ukraine thing resulted in a lot of platforms, for whatever reason, blocking Russian servers, which I think is a little bit unfair, but not that I'm pro-Russia or anti-Ukraine or any of that. I'm just saying how, reflected back on me was that because my content was on the Russian server, I couldn't share anything to Facebook and a few other platforms where I might would want to share a link to an article. So, out of frustration for this, I will say SiteGround was a great host, by the way. But I moved my service to kind of a private server run by one of my friends who's a fantastic developer. When I can get him on the phone, we can solve problems real fast. That ain't always, though. But he's awesome and he's a good friend of mine. So I've been hosting with him now. But he was able to actually transfer, because he's really an expert in WordPress, which is what my most recent platform was. I was able to take all that content over. So I have an incredible amount of content, some of which I might want to fix up and share in the future. Who knows? But for now, the issue with the site is I have so much content, it's really hard for me to find a way to share the stuff I want to share. Mostly it's video. Since my granddaughter came along 6 years ago, it's mostly like vlogs about her and stuff. But here and there I'll have articles. And then, of course, my relatives, my father, my uncle passed away. I do a little article about them. And then I just have some general writings and musings about some of the software that I use. Some stories from my life as a mortician. Who knows, maybe there'll be a book in the future. I'm not that interested in a person, but I don't know, I just like to write. So maybe I'll turn some of these stories into a memoir at some point. Here's one about the Drake equation. Google that, y'all. But anyway, that's a place to share my films and whatnot. But anyhow, recently I realized that I didn't have much of an about page or an updated about page. So I think it was probably 2020 or something like that. I updated my about page, and I put a picture of myself up, and I manipulated it with AI to have a fit body. I was very out of shape, and I had just spent like $1,000 on a nice three-piece suit that is fat. My fat is, I was about 360 pounds, which puts you at the very bottom of the range of a big and tall store. You go in there and you're the smallest guy shopping there, but they'll have sizes, and even those sizes were a little too big for me, just because those sizes go way up to dudes like 500-700 pounds. But anyway, I had a picture of my, sort of like an AI enhanced picture of me standing in front of the Sierra Nevadas, and I have my hair medium length. I can make my hair look like it is in the picture, but only with like a lot of product. That's why I keep it long, so I can tie it back. But I made this picture look fit, and I said, this is where I'm going to be. This is how I want to look. And by the grace of God and the help of the right people, I've actually gotten close to that. I'm pretty close to that right now. I'm probably about 30 pounds away from looking just like that picture in real life. And that's amazing, man. That is really amazing. And it's sort of touching to look at that and remember the day that I thought about that. And I just want to say, all of you can do the exact same thing. Anybody that wants to do this can do it. And fasting is the way to do it. And I like to talk about that a lot on this podcast because how much it has helped me. And I see people out there 400 or 500 pounds all the time that I think, man, you could really benefit from this. I wish that you would embrace intermittent fasting. So many of them start a conversation, well, I can't do that. I got to have my breakfast. And I'm like, you're talking to my man all wrong here. You say that again, I'm going to come back and rip your eyelids off. You can't say can't, guys. Guys, can't is a lie. That's just an easy choice, a lazy, easy choice that you make. All right, that's going to be it for this episode of the podcast, mainly because I have stuff to do. I had to go off, and I'm going to rehearse for the new band I'm playing with. I'm super excited about that. When I get back, perhaps I'll talk about my CDL journey, which is happening now, fam, right now.